Welcome to the Daddyhood Rocks podcast with John Wolford and Brandon Miller. We are here to encourage you, empower you, and strengthen you so you can engage, level up, and have fun being a dad. We are going to have guests, deep conversations, hilarious stories, and insights that will give you the strength you need so you can be the dad you gotta be. And now, here are your hosts, John Wolford and Brandon Miller.
All right, welcome to the Daddyhood Rocks podcast. This is Brandon Miller and
I am the understudy, John Wolford.
Bull Honky. Not so fast there. John Wolford, you are every much of a dad as I am, plus some. You're an extra dad, you're a new dad, you're all sorts of dad. So you belong here. We're so excited about this podcast. This podcast is for new dads, for young dads, for extra dads, whoever needs an extra boost, a bit of encouragement, some empowerment, just kind of a swift kick in the rear end. By no means are we experts in the field, but we are here because we want to encourage dads to be engaged, to level up, and have fun being dads. John, why are you excited about being a part of this podcast? What does this mean to you?
You know, like you said, we're not experts, and we fully recognize that. And I think that we're gently or not so gently reminded at times that we're not experts. But, you know, as a dad coming into daddyhood, you're thrown into the fire all too often. And so I think just having this, it's not a guide because we're not experts, but having guys who are there alongside with you, whether we know it or not, having that as a dad is such a big boost, especially in those low daddyhood moments.
Without a doubt. Now, for me, I am a dad to two boys, a 7-year-old and a brand new 6-year-old, and they are full of adventure and life and creativity and zest and questions and all sorts of stuff, and I love it. It's the greatest adventure I've ever been a part of. It's the most challenging thing I've ever done, but also the most rewarding. John, what's your life situation? You just have a kid or two, right?
I have I don't know, some people call it a clan, some people call it a zoo. I prefer zoo because it's about that crazy at times. So I am a stepdad of a 4-year-old and a 10-year-old. Aside from that, I'm a real dad of twin daughters who were born this last February. So when you guys hear this, they'll be a year old. And I also have a son, an older son who is 7, and a younger son who is 5. So I'm kind of across the spectrum in daddyhood, minus teenagers. When it comes to that, yeah, it's quite the clan.
And yeah, you are all sorts of dad. You're just all over the dad spectrum, which is fantastic. So now I want to take a moment to introduce a very important guest, our very first guest of Daddyhood Rocks, and that is John Wolford. I have some questions for you, my friend. So for you, what is your greatest strength as a dad? What do you bring to the table that just really helps motivate and encourage your children? What do you do well as a dad?
You know, I connect with my kids in kind of interesting way, and I don't spank my kids. Rarely even raise my voice at my kids, but my kids do push-ups, and they are disciplined. But, you know, I find that not bringing down that corporal punishment has led to bridges being built in areas that I don't think you can, with ways that I grew up. And don't get me wrong, I love my dad, but ways that I grew up versus how I'm raising my kids. I think bridges have been built between myself and my kids that weren't built between my father and I.
Okay, very good. So you build bridges, and part of that is by your intentional way of discipline. All right, fantastic. Now, on the flip side of that coin, what are some areas of growth for you? How would you like to grow and improve as a dad?
I mean, I could list a million things out here, but being intentional with my time is probably the biggest one. It's so easy for me to push things off and say, yeah, how about we do that later? My sons love Legos, and they bring me a 500-piece Lego set, and I'm like, or God forbid, one of the 1,000-piece Lego sets, and it's my mind immediately jumps to, let's do that later. I mean, but with that said, I've also recognized that my sons are old enough now that they're just going to do it. Don't need dad to do it. And so I've had to be more intentional about how I'm spending my time. And when they ask me, hey, Dad, can we do this? Yeah, sure. Absolutely, we can do that. Because if I don't say that, they're going to do it anyway. And there's not much I can say about it.
And also, I think that they are kind of, it sounds like they're giving those kind of bids for connection, and they're going to do the activity regardless, but they want dad to be a part of that, whatever that is. And of course, who doesn't like building with Legos, right? If you could send a message to through a time machine to the brand new dad named John Wolford, what kinds of things would that John Wolford really have benefited from maybe listening to a podcast like this?
Boy, that's a really good question. There's so much that I think guys can get just from the support of having another dad. Hey, I've been there. Having another dad say that is huge. But just having somebody say, hey, I'm there with you. I've been there. That diaper, that massive blowout diaper, yeah, been there. Trust me, it's bad. Having that support system is huge. And so I'm excited to be able to give that.
So, but yeah, as far as my questions for you, thank you for being such a wonderful guest, John. Appreciate that. So yeah, that's what I have.
All right. Well, what's beautiful about this is we've got our second guest on today,
oh, cool.
The Podfather himself. So, some of these questions are going to be similar to what you asked me, but to start off, what did you always want to be a dad? What brought you into daddyhood, and is this something that you've always wanted?
I love that question. So growing up, I'm the youngest of four, and I never really envisioned exactly what it would be like to be a dad. Actually, the first thoughts I had kind of in early high school, middle high school, I had these visions of actually like running an orphanage for orphans. Something kind of touched my heart. I had read a story about an orphan, and so I just kind of had this daydream of helping orphans. And then got married with my first wife at 20, and we wanted children. And we during the span of our marriage, we had a miscarriage, but no children. So that was kind of a growing desire to have children, but also there was some angst there as well. And now I'm so thankful for second chances. Been married now for over 8 years. With my wife, and we have our two sons. And I think right from the beginning that was something that was really important to us. And so actually our oldest, he's a honeymoon baby, which is kind of cool.
What makes you a good dad? Where's your strengths?
My wife says she's married to a fifth grader, and I believe her sometimes. I believe that I have the gift of goofiness, that I use that to build bridges and connections, which drop guards down, which then lead to deep connection and deep conversation. And so I feel like my sons and I have wonderful adventures and just a lot of fun together. I could be just utterly silly and ridiculous, and they love it. It's funny, as far as developing, different personas and characters. Someday, I'll tell you about Baby Monster and all these super villains that I try to be. Now, for me, ever since I was a kid, my temper has been horrible. So growing up in our house, it was just a very old school upbringing, and mental health and emotions were really kind of taboo. You didn't really go there, anything along those lines. And so anger especially was a prohibited emotion. So I didn't know how to handle it really well. And of course, everyone has anger. It's just a part of being human. But I didn't have a good release for it. So it would build and build and build and explode, which is not healthy. And so uh, now into my early 20s, that decreased significantly. But especially during this, COVID palooza that we're in the middle of, and everyone's exhausted, everyone's tired, everyone's on their last nerve, and we're all on each other's toes and in each other's business. I hate losing my temper with my kids. It's not how I like to communicate. Sometimes it comes out, and so that, even though that's a weakness, I think one thing that we do really well in this family is that we apologize pretty well too. We're able to say, you know what, I really screwed up. I'm really sorry for being just an incredible butt. Please forgive me. So it's a weakness, but also it kind of leads to a strength at times.
That was incredible, but one of your it was supervillain names.
No, that's just Gus T. Cheeks. So we have and each of these villains have kind of an alter ego. So Gus T. Cheeks is like the civilian name of the farter, and then we have so Bill Handler, his kind of alter ego is, oh, the cleaning lady, and I'm here to clean you out. And so she goes and pretends she's cleaning, and she takes all the play money out, and so yeah. But Incredible Butt is not one of the names. Sorry.
With your job as a therapist, what can you offer our listeners? Anything from that aspect, or is it going to be completely different?
No, I think a lot of it is very applicable to being a dad. Because when you are fully engaged as a dad, as a husband, as a boyfriend, as whatever role you're in, you wear a lot of hats, and when you wear a lot of hats, there's a lot of stress. And so when you do have stress, there are things that you can do that either magnify and make your stress worse, or there are things you can do to make your stress minimized. And so a lot of what I'll bring to the podcast will be related to some things that have been helpful for me and helpful for my clients too, that I think are that's very applicable for dads for sure. Now for you, I'm going to kind of flip the script. So you are on the tail end of your studies in a nursing program, going to be an RN, which is super, super exciting. From that perspective, what do you bring to Daddyhood Rocks?
Well, it's not going to be anything from a medical science side of things. I'll tell you that. Now. But, I have worked in very interesting, I guess you could call them climates when it comes to healthcare, including the emergency department. And so I've seen a lot of social situations where, boy, that could have been handled a lot differently. So I think that being able to view it from that perspective, I think I'll be able to offer things. But even outside of that, I think, we mentioned earlier, I've got a zoo. And so being able to manage 6 kids, how do I do that? It's a talent almost. Sometimes it feels like to be able to manage 6 kids, manage 6 schedules. We've got kids, 4 of our 6 are school age or near school age. So they've got their own things going on. So being able, especially dads who, hey, I've got a 2-year-old, but I've got a newborn on the way. How do you do this? This is already stressful, and the baby's not even here yet. We're here for you, and we want to be in your corner fighting with you. COVID's just provided us with this awesome opportunity to connect with each other and grow as a family deeper with each other. And it's provided us with this opportunity to say, hey, I see what you got going on there. We're here for you. The best thing I've ever been able to do with my family was survive a pandemic together.
I love that perspective. And it's not all, rainbows and unicorns, but man, a lot of great opportunities to do some pretty cool stuff as families. So fantastic. Good on you. So we're going to have it's going to be kind of a smorgasbord, a buffet of ideas and concepts. And some days it's going to be lighthearted on the podcast. Some days it's going to be some heavy topics, because being a dad, sometimes there's a lot of heaviness. So we're going to be all over the board. And we really hope that this podcast provides you with the strength you need to be the dad you got to be. And so as we wrap up, John, is there anything you'd like to kind of end with, or that you'd want to pass on to our listeners as they are maybe beginning this journey for the first time?
Like I said earlier, we want to be in your corner. And so if this is something that's been beneficial to you, fun to listen to, even if it's just a getaway for a little bit to listen to something, please join us on this journey. This is going to be a blast for us too. We love being dads. And so to be able to share our daddyhood with you, that's huge for us. And so we want you to know that, we're there with you. We're in the trenches. And we want to be able to be that support for you.
Without a doubt. And just as a teaser to wet y'all's whistle, next week we'll talk about magic poop. And if you don't know what that is, stay tuned. This is going to be the most amazing thing, most disgusting thing ever. So magic poop next week, plus some going to be trying to dig up some wonderful guests for you. And it's just going to be a wild, amazing ride. So guys, thank you. Subscribe. If you enjoyed this, if you think this is going to be a beneficial thing to you, go ahead and give us a rating below, and keep on listening, because we got a lot of stuff in store for you.
Thank you for listening to the Daddyhood Rocks podcast. This is our first episode, one of many. We're going to be putting out episodes every Friday night, so you can have a whole weekend to engage, level up, and have fun being a dad. If you think this is going to help you out, subscribe, give a rating, let us know what you think. Let us know what kind of topics you'd love to hear in future episodes on Daddyhood Rocks.